Today, without any further ado, I want to get into a portion of scripture and a message that has to do with a celebration of human accomplishment that God was happy with. Because as we know, most of us here, those who are online may not, but today is also graduation Sunday for SFC, okay? And so many of you are already in that mood. So I thought, why not? And I was seeking the Lord. The Lord started talking this to me, and so I want to go into this. You see, human accomplishment, arguably, one of the first celebrations recorded in the Bible of an accomplishment. You see, earlier there have been sense of accomplishment occurrences. For example, in Genesis chapter 4 verse 1, Eve, she says, by the Lord, I have gotten a man from the Lord. You know, when Cain was born, she celebrated it, but she celebrated it as an accomplishment. Now, I understand she was the first woman to go through labor. She was the first woman to give birth to a baby. She probably celebrated it. But look at how that celebration ended up with that boy whom she celebrated becoming a murderer, the first murderer. Then you go down the line, you see in Genesis chapter 9, Noah does a celebration. Now, obviously, it is not the completion of the ark we are talking about, because once the ark was completed, I don't think Noah got a chance to celebrate because it was the flood and death and crises. But then, after the flood was done and Noah came out of the ark, he planted a vineyard and he got some wine. And he drank the wine. He celebrated his accomplishment as an agricultural genius after this turmoil of a flood. Look how that turned out. Noah drank in his inebriate state. It ends up with him cursing the entire lineage of one of his grandchildren. But the passage I want to talk to you is about an accomplishment that was celebrated by an ordained minister of God. Come with me to the book of Genesis chapter 14, verse 19 and 20. The book of Genesis chapter number 14, verses 19 and 20. And if one of you can get the mic to Sarah, if she doesn't have it yet. Where is Sarah? Can you raise your hand? Oh, there you are. Okay, good. Wonderful. Resin, just read it aloud if you're already there. Okay, fine. Genesis chapter 14, verse number 19 and 20. Not 19, chapter 14, verse 19 and 20. Let's read.
And he blessed Abram, saying, Blessed be Abram by God Most High.
Blessed be Abram. Go on.
By God Most High, Creator of heaven and earth. And praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand. Then Abraham gave him a tenth of everything.
Wonderful. This is one of the first times, arguably, we see a record of a man of God, representing God, celebrating a human accomplishment. For those of you who have not read Genesis 14 before, or have read it through passingly and not noted some of the things, let me run down some of the things that happen in Genesis 14. Most of us are aware of Abraham and Lot, right? Lot decides to go separate ways from Abraham. He ends up in Sodom. Sodom and Gomorrah are cities that are close by, almost like maybe twin cities, I don't know. And then there are a few other countries as well, few other cities as well. They have their own kings. And so, excuse me. And so what happens is, these 5 kings of those cities, they go into battle against a king. The king and his allies by the name of Kedorlaomer. Now I know when you can't spell or pronounce something, you turn off. So let us call him King C for dumbing it down for Gen Z. Right? So he's King C, though he's Kedorlaomer. Now he takes them captive. And Abraham's nephew Lot gets captured in the process of the war. And so someone comes and tells Abraham, hey, listen, your nephew is also captured. So Abraham goes out into battle, rescues his nephew, and comes back. Now that is when Melchizedek, if you will read verse 18 onwards, Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blesses Abraham. Abraham offers a tithe to him. Now, you must understand something. This accomplishment of Abraham, now think about this. Most of the times when we think about accomplishments of other people, we do not really sometimes give it too much thought. We are like, okay, like today we'll celebrate all those who graduated from high school. We have an entire gamut, right? We have doctoral degrees, we have bachelor degrees, we have high school graduation. I want to congratulate all of you for all your accomplishments. If you can you put your hands together for all of them? Wonderful. Now, you may think, what's so big about graduating high school? I graduated high school. Oh, ഞാൻ graduate പണ്ടത്തെ മെട്രിക്കുലേഷൻ ആയിരുന്നു. പണ്ടത്തെ എന്തുവായിരുന്നത്? SSLCക്ക് പറയുന്നൊരു പേര് സിസ്തോ. ഈ സിക്സ്ത് എന്ന് പറയുന്നൊരു സാധനം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നല്ലോ മലയാളം. സിസ്ത് പാസ്സായ പണ്ടത്തെ സിസ്ത് ഇന്നത്തെ ഡിഗ്രി പോലെയാണെന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നവരുണ്ട്. You should sit in a class with them. You'll understand. But we think, no, seriously, the kind of things they study, I wonder, Lord, if I was studying 12th now, would I even pass? No, I'm joking. But seriously, sometimes I think that they have so much work to do. And we don't understand sometimes the demons they battled to get to graduation. Maybe it is 12th grade, maybe it is a degree, maybe it's a doctoral degree, but the challenges they faced are not the challenges you may have faced. So sometimes we don't understand this. Now, for example, Abraham, he went and fought a few kings. Fine, that's what we think. But you must understand who Kedor Laomer is. Oh, I promised King C. Now, you know who King C is? Anybody? Do you have an inkling about the capability of King C? I know this is not a guy whom we preach about a lot, and that's why I thought I'll just go through it. King She is one of the first people in the human history to have battled giants and obliterated them. We celebrate David so much. We hear the story of David and Goliath so many times. Kedorlaomer was such a brilliant warrior king that he obliterated races of giants. Now, to put things in perspective for a younger crowd, imagine you have a race of Hulks from Marvel, and a normal person kills them all. Are you catching this? These are the descendants of fallen angels. These are the Nephilim on the earth. Of course, Genesis says that, when the flood came, God destroyed most of them, or all of them. But then it says the Nephilim were on the earth in those days. I'm not making you read this. Go to Genesis 6, you'll see this. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and later also when the sons of God came into the daughters of men. So after the flood also, these are superhuman beings, these giants. I want you to read that verse actually. Come with me. When you talk about Kedorlaomer, 14 verse 5, Genesis 14 verse 5, he talks about his military accomplishments and the kind of races that he overcame. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and the kings who were with him came and defeated the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim. Rephaim is a race of giants like Goliath. You go, you click you all have your devices, right? You click and you'll see Rephaim are giants born of the Nephilim. And then you go on and you read, and the Zuzim. The Zuzim were another race of giants. In fact, the word Zuzim means ravaging animal. And then you see the next verse, the Emim. The Emim, the word Emim means terror. These horrendous races, it says he came and defeated the Rephaim, the Zuzim, and the Emim. Now think about Kedorlaomer or King C. He is not a king to be trifled with, yes or no? I mean, he can destroy races of giants. Honestly, think about this. There are only two groups of people other than Kedorlaomer that I know of who overcame these kind of physical giants. One was, of course, the people of Israel. The other were the people of Edom. Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 11 and number 12. Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse number 11 and 12. Quickly. Quickly. Okay, like the Anakim, they are also counted as Rephaim, but the Moabites call them Emim. Next verse. Next verse on screen. The Horites also lived in Seir formerly, but the people of Esau dispossessed them and destroyed them from before them and settled in their place as Israel did to the land of their possession, which the Lord gave to them. So I know of only two races of people, both from Abraham. The people of Edom and the people of Israel are the only guys who've actually taken down giants, but they did so because God helped them. Yes or no? God was with Israel. That's why Israel won. But this king Kedorlaomer, he's a Gentile king, has nothing to do with God, and he wins over these giants. He defeats them in battle. That is the guy Abraham defeated. Are you getting this? This guy was on a roll. He was just defeating giants after giants, taking over lands. In fact, Sodom was under him for a long time. Let me tell you something. Many times, as I was saying earlier, we ignore or we forget the accomplishments that people have made because we just pass and read and go on. We'll say, okay, they passed 12th grade. You don't know what health challenges they went through. You don't know what psychological stress they went through. I mean, maybe it is a degree, maybe it's a doctoral degree, but the strain they went through, it's worth applauding and congratulating them. Amen? But then I have something to tell you guys. Graduates, former graduates, maybe you graduated a year ago, maybe 6 months ago. You already have a job, maybe you're going to enter into the workplace, so I'm going to add something towards a little more of the message as we get into a little more of the message. But let me remind you, Lot went to Sodom seeing that the plains were green, they were lush. Have you heard the phrase, the grass is greener on the other side? Some of you will not just graduate from school, you will also graduate from home. You will find a university far away where you can go and stay. Some of you will graduate from the youth meetings because now you're done. Some of you will try to graduate from church. But let me tell you something. Lot, when he was with Abraham, he saw the greenery. But do you know something? Sodom was enslaved by Kedorlaomer for more than a decade. So come with me. Let me just give you that before we go into a little more of that. You come into the first 2-3 verses of chapter 14. Verse 4 onwards. 12 years they had served Kedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year this war ensues. So think about this. Lot is captured in the 14th year. Lot, ഇവിടുന്ന് ഇറങ്ങിപ്പോയപ്പം ഫുൾ പച്ചപ്പും അനുഗ്രഹമായിരുന്നു. അവിടെ ചെന്നപ്പോഴാണ് മനസ്സിലാവുന്നത് ഈ ദേശം മുഴുവൻ ആർക്കടിമയാണ്. നമ്മുടെ വായി കൊള്ളുന്നില്ലല്ലേ. King Kedorlaomer, like King C had captured, and Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding area, Zoar and those kingdoms, they were subject to who? King C. Let me tell you something. You may feel that grass is greener on the other side now. You will think, oh, I will get my freedom. I will have my job. I am going to accomplish things. But let me tell you something. Don't be a Lot who runs into greenery, ending up becoming a slave to somebody else. Are you with me, church? And we go on. Don't be enslaved by the world. And I'll give you a trick how not to be enslaved by the monetary systems of the world. I want to talk to you about something that is not spoken of nowadays. It is called tithe. I'll tell you why. I think Paul was talking about this generation specifically in the book of Timothy, because in the book of Timothy, 2 Timothy chapter number 4, verse number 3 and 4. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 3, 4. Quickly, if you can have it up on the screen, because I think Sarah is having, kindergarten troubles with all the kids around her. So, okay. For the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit what they like. Now listen carefully. Do you think in the first century you could accumulate teachers? In a small village or a city, you will have 2 or 3 people in a Christian church who will teach. Yes or no? Or a few. അമേരിക്കയിലല്ലല്ലോ 12 പാസ്റ്റർമാർ നിരന്നിരിക്കാൻ. പണ്ടത്തെ കാലത്ത് you can't accumulate teachers. In fact, the King James says heap teachers. But this generation has the privilege. You know why? ഇൻസ്റ്റാഗ്രാമിൽ പോയി വ്ലാഡിനെ സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്തു, നേത്തൻ മോറിസിനെ സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്തു, അടുത്ത ആളെ സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്തു. You go to YouTube, you follow this guy, you follow that short. So now you are heaping to yourselves teachers whom you like to listen to. And Joy Pastor is preaching. പിന്നെ നമ്മൾ ഇത് യൂട്യൂബിൽ കേട്ടിട്ടുള്ള വേറെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ, ഇതൊന്നും അല്ല സത്യം. You live in a generation that heaps to themselves teachers who will preach what they like. And you do a search on the internet, you will find the majority of the people saying tithe is not New Testament. Tithe is Old Testament. And even when Abraham gives a tithe to this man, it's like, no, that is not right. God never commanded him. He was just giving a tithe. So I want to just make something clear to you. Are you okay for that? Say amen if you're okay. കുറച്ച് പേർക്കുണ്ട്. That's all right. Paul said, if someone disagrees, God will give him wisdom in the matter later on. So I'm going to leave it to God. But I will present it. Because see, when I stand before God and give account for the time I spent here, would he not ask me why I did not teach this generation why they should tithe? Because it is important and because it is a New Testamental thing. Let me explain. Now, see, we know that Abraham gave a tithe to who? Melchizedek. We read that in verse 20, yes? Abraham gave a tithe to Melchizedek. Now, of course, we understand that Abraham giving a tithe preceded the law. So it was not an Old Testament Mosaic thing, but it predates the law. But that is not what I'm going to preach today. I am going to preach about something else. Listen to me very carefully. When Abraham offers a tithe to Melchizedek, listen carefully. If Melchizedek has to receive it as a tithe, there has to be a clause or a law or a commandment for him to receive it. For example, in India, if you pay taxes, you can only be paying taxes based on the Indian Tax Act of 1961. Yes? If there were no tax act and you gave money to the government, do you call it tax? What will you call it? സർക്കാരിന് ചുമ്മാ ഞാൻ പൈസ തരുമെന്ന് പറയാൻ നോക്കൂ. Okay, either you can give into a program, or you must be buying bonds, or you are paying taxes. Whatever it is, it needs a law. Yes or no? So for Melchizedek to receive tithes from Abraham, there had to be a law, a provision for it. Because see, it was not just Abraham giving 1/10. The book of Hebrews, come with me to the book of Hebrews. Oh, hallelujah. Chapter number 7. Chapter number 7. Verse number 8. Hebrews chapter number 7, verse number 8. Quickly.
In the one case, tithes are received by mortal men, but in the other case, by one of whom it is testified that he lives.
Okay, let's read verse 5 also. Those that descended of Levi, who receive the priestly office, have a commandment in the law to take tithes from the people, that is their brothers. So Levi is not doing it of his own accord. He is not getting free will offerings. There is a commandment, there is a law, there is a provision for the Levitical priesthood. Now, let me give a sidebar. I don't know how much time we have, but we'll finish in 10:45, don't worry. But the Levitical priesthood had a commandment. There was a provision. That is why they got tithes. Okay? And then verse 8, can you read verse? In that case of the Levites, mortal men received the tithes. But in this case of Melchizedek, by one of whom it is testified that he lives forever. My question is, whether it is Melchizedek or Levi, for them to accept tithes as tithes to God, there has to be a law. Just like there has to be a tax act for you to offer taxes or pay taxes, otherwise you're just giving some donation. But even for that, to receive a donation, you need a clause. Otherwise it is a bribe. Okay? So, now think about this. Levi had the commandment from God. And so a mortal Levi is receiving tithes from his brothers. And then verse 8 is saying, but in Melchizedek's case, he who lives forever is receiving tithes. Now listen to this. We say the Levitical priesthood had a provision for tithes. Fine. And that is over. Great. Now the Levites received tithes for the work they did. Okay? Listen, Numbers chapter 18, verse 21 and 24. Numbers 18, chapter 21 to 24. Quickly, please run through this. To the Levites I have given every tithe in Israel for an inheritance in return for their service that they do. So the Levitical tithe had to do with physical service. Tell me, which sacrifice of Abraham did Melchizedek offer that Abraham gave a sacrifice, gave a tithe? Did Melchizedek do any offering? Did he kill any animals for Abraham? Did he do any physical work? What did Melchizedek do? He blessed him. He imparted a spiritual revelation to Abraham that caused Abraham to say, I don't want the money of the king of Sodom. That was all he did. He didn't do any physical work for Abraham. The Melchizedek order of priesthood receives tithes for spiritual service. The Levites received tithes for physical service. Are you getting this? Now I have a question. The Levitical priesthood received tithes. We are fine and it's over. But you know, Melchizedek, the problem with Melchizedek receiving tithes is Jesus is a priest after the order of Melchizedek, it says about Jesus, you are forever a priest, verse 17. For it is, Hebrews chapter 7 verse 17, for it is witnessed of Jesus, you are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Now if the Melchizedekan order had tithes, Jesus' order also has tithes. Are you getting this? The Levitical priesthood had tithes, but if Melchizedekan order had tithes, Jesus is a priest according to what? The order of Melchizedek. So that means that Jesus' order also includes what? Why am I saying this? Let me tell you, and I'm going to close. Tithes is not your shortcut to make money. Abraham was already super rich when he offered tithes. So I don't know, most of us, we think, oh, we give so that dashamsham kodakadu vannitte aashutri kondu koduthu. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about doing the right thing. This earth is the Lord's. Your body is the Lord's. The breath you breathe, the intelligence you have, the skills you have, all were given by God. You can pay taxes to a government that did not create you, that you elected. And then why in the world would you think that it's not okay to pay to the Lord as an honorarium? You're honoring the Lord. You're saying, Lord, whatever I earn, I am accepting and believing that you gave it to me. Please receive this of me. Why am I saying this to you? Remember when I started this, I told you, young people, I'll tell you a shortcut to escape the world. Because Abraham had brought in riches from 5 kings. He recovered all these riches. And you know what he did? He gave 1/10 of that to Melchizedek. And then he also did something else. He gave a share to his friends. You know who Abraham's friends were? Not Isaac and Jacob, no. He had 3 friends who went into battle with him. Their names are Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Go read chapter 14. We don't have time, that's why I'm not saying this. It's there in chapter 14. Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. We know only Mamre. Mamreyude topil, adundu Mamre ariyam. Mamre was a guy. And then we have Eshcol, his brother, and then Aner, his older brother. That's why we have Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. So Abraham says, verse 24, chapter 14, verse 24. It says, you must give the share of this to Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. So 1/10 goes to God, and then you have to give an equal share to who? The guys who came into battle with me. Let me tell you, graduates, you graduated, you received a diploma, but there are people who ran with you, who prayed with you, who stuck by you in times that were thick and thin. Don't forget them when you celebrate. Don't forget your parents who paid a price for their dreams so that you could have yours. I mean, don't forget your friends who stood by you even when the whole world wouldn't believe you. Can you have Genesis 14, verse 24 up on the screen quickly? Yes, I will take nothing but what the young men have eaten and the share of the men who went with me. Let Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre take their share. So 1/10 goes to God, and then they receive their share, the friends. I'm telling you, in your celebrations, when you grow up in life, I'm telling you, you will have friends at your degree level, at your postgraduate level, doctoral level, postdoctoral level. I'm telling you, the most simplest and innocent friends you have who really care about you are probably your kindergarten friends, if you still know them, or people who graduated with you from high school. Many times that's what happens. As you grow, you'll see those were better days. You'll say, don't forget those who stood by you. Don't forget the church that prayed for you. Because once you have graduated and all, and then you have your own job, then you're like, let us go to some other church. What about the church that wept for you? What about the church that invested in you when you were going to school, when you used to fall sick, when you were going through your teenage phase, where you thought your mind will go out of rail? The church's prayer unknown to you. Every day morning when you were sleeping, a prayer line was praying for you. Don't walk away from the people who stood by you. Don't forget them. But coming to my main thrust that I promised you, Abraham says, I don't even want a sandal from your riches. Abrahame, അല്ല നമ്മളൊക്കെ കിട്ടുന്ന പൈസയുടെ ദശാംശം കൊടുക്കുന്നവരുടെ കാര്യം. Because nowadays churches are like, you give 5% tithe. That is a nonsensical formula, because tithe means 1/10, 10%. How can you give 5% and call it 10%? At least say it is 5%. I mean, don't call it a tithe. Tithe means 10%. But let that be. But the thing is, Abraham gives this tithe to God, and it clicks as Melchizedek blessed him that he is servant of the possessor of heaven and earth. And now he's saying, I don't want your riches, you can take it. Let me tell you, if you don't want the world to have a claw on your heart, learn to offer mammon back to God. Are you with me? Most people who give tithes are like, seriously, I've seen this. I've seen people using prophecy and saying, whoever comes with a $5,000 check here, I see a black BMW in your garage tomorrow. Don't do that nonsense, please. Because Timothy says, Paul is saying, they see godliness as a means to gain. That's not what I'm preaching. I'm saying, like Abraham, you give to God, you know what will happen? The clutches of mammon will loosen. You will be able to see clearly, and you will not be attached to money, and you will never be a slave of the world. And that is why I say, young people, give. Most people don't preach this because they are like, oh, pastor na panam veno aayirikkum. But most of these young kids, because older people, you're already giving tithes probably. But the young kids, by the time they graduate and they get a job and they are old enough to pay me, I will no longer be a pastor. So I don't get any returns from this message. The reason I'm preaching this is so that this generation will stay free from the clutches of mammon. Because as they give to God, they get released in their heart. You realize that your job doesn't give you life. Your job doesn't pay for your living. God does. one tiny thing to your health, and your job will kick you out. Yes or no? You lose your brain, you lose your eyesight, many of your faculties that are critical to your job. If you lose any of those, imagine a neurosurgeon who develops shaky wrists. Will he make the money again? No, he won't. But there is a God in heaven who said that he who clothes the lilies and who takes care of the ravens will take care of you. Malayalam team, please come up. I want to leave you with this. Abraham's accomplishments. Just like we just read through it, don't see the accomplishments of our young people also as light. Only they and God know what they went through and how they accomplished things. And to the young people I said, don't run into a Sodom that looks green but is full of slavery. Don't forget the people who ran with you. Like Abraham remembered Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. And last of all, don't let Mammon have a vice grip on your heart. Oh, Rabadana Shadal Barasiyadal. There are so many people, വയ്യായെങ്കിലും ഇൻഷുറൻസിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ജോലി ചെയ്യുന്നവരില്ലേ? ആരോഗ്യം തരുന്ന ദൈവത്തിന് കൊടുക്കണ്ടേ? Oh, I'm telling you. But beyond all of that, give so that Mammon won't have a hold on you. Give with honor. Don't give with disrespect. Say, Lord, please accept this from my hand. Please keep me from the love of money. And the Lord will honor you. He will bless you. He will prosper you. Once again, congrats, graduates, and all of you. Let this be a way of life for us. God bless you. Thank you.